Freddie Fredrickson. It's been a long day out there in the cold here in Minnesota. We've got a great Ted today.
Are you there?
Is this coming through?
I could. You broke up for just a second, and then I think I hear you.
Okay. How you doing today, Ted?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Excellent.
Greetings from Wisconsin.
I am. Yeah, it's freezing out there. It's like back to wearing layers again.
Yep.
But enough about us and the weather. Nobody wants to hear about that. You heard enough about that. But today, let's talk some CM Punk, the huge return to WWE last night.
Did something happen last night? I didn't hear anything about that last night. No, the internet's not talking about it at all right now.
Oh, it was one of those AI videos, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'm so stupid. I'm just getting to that age.
Fever dream. Yeah.
I'm getting to that age where I fall for that stuff.
It did kind of feel like a fever dream though last night, didn't it? It just felt like, well, there's a great Survivor Series, and we got Randy Orton. You know, he made a great return, looking massive. He looked like he gained 20 pounds of muscle. Just a wonderful, bookend with two great War Game matches, and that they brought on the little graphic on the bottom corner. Like, it's not going to happen. They're happy. They're content with what happened, and then all of a sudden, Cult of Personality plays, and I don't know about you, but I was screaming at my television.
I am a fool. I was busy. I just watched the main event of it, and then I was like, well, CM Punk didn't show up. That's too bad. And then I went on to Facebook, and I was like, oh, CM Punk's back. That's a good one. CM Punk returns. Oh, everybody, my friends, And then my other friend who never hits me up about anything was like, CM Punk is back. So I was like, oh my God. So I go on to Peacock and I rewind it, and I was like, oh. So it was a unique experience.
Yeah, I was watching it last night with my son. He's 10 years old and has really gotten into WWE in the past few years. And so he and we haven't watched a whole lot of AEW, so he didn't really know that much about CM Punk. And so he's like, Dad, why is this such a big deal? I'm like, oh, it's a very big deal for a long reason. So wrestling fans like you and I that were around, watching in the late 2000s, early 2010s, all the great things that he was a part of, and then the massive fallout, realizing what a big moment this was for the WWE and the wrestling landscape. It was quite a moment.
Absolutely. And I kind of fell in and out of fanhood throughout my life for pro wrestling. And when I first came back as a fan about that 2012, 2013 era, it was CM Punk, Paul Heyman, who really brought me in. And, that was the only segment I'd really watch at the time. And it was great to see him come back. It's great to see him, go pursue his goals outside of pro wrestling and go for it, even though, he ended up with an 0-2 record there in MMA, just to have the guts to step in the cage and go for your dreams. And it's always admirable, no matter what the results are. But
I think a lot of wrestling fans are like you, in which after the Ruthless Aggression era, when we went through the guest the celebrity guest era, I guess you could call it, a lot of people faded out, which is like, okay, I've got other things to do. There's other avenues of entertainment that I can pursue. And it was CM Punk that brought people in. There was that entire Nexus era, and then there was with Punk and the Pipe Bomb really woke up the passion from a lot of fans, a lot of lapsed fans returning to that. And then when he left, and the way that he left, you could also feel that the fans that left WWE during that time as well. There are a lot of issues that occurred after he left that was taking place in WWE, but he was kind of like the first domino to fall before everything else happened. So you are not alone in which, a lot of wrestling fans, they can pinpoint to where their interests were based off of his involvement in the WWE.
Absolutely. I think he was like that sort of anti-hero, that sort of voice for the voiceless. There are a lot of my friends who are like, I hate John Cena and I hate Roman Reigns, and remember the good old days of ECW and Attitude and such. So I think he kind of became a voice for that, or like that independent hero that seeing NXT kind of turn out a lot of these independent stars into big, TV stadium stars or worldwide stars. He kind of was one of the first guys to lay that path as well, I
It was
guess.
less important for guys to look like big bodybuilders at that point, and was more, these are guys that we can connect with and can tell a great story. And CM Punk, again, love him or hate him, you have to admit he's an amazing storyteller, and one that can, he's got some great athletic ability, but he doesn't look like a John Cena or a Batista or a Brock Lesnar. He looks like somebody you would run into, I would say run into at the bar, but CM Punk wouldn't be there, more like at the grocery store because straight edge. Anyway, but somebody that you could make a connection with. And then we saw the Daniel Bryans, and like you mentioned with NXT, your Adam Coles and your Kevin Steens and your Sami Zayns, that entire crew. But at the time with WWE was still sticking very much to bodybuilder types, what
Yeah,
Vince McMahon wanted, and ramped up even more as the decade went on, especially after CM Punk left, was still that prototype wrestler, almost like a creative wrestler, almost, where you had just big muscle guy and just throw him with a gimmick and see if he gets over, not make an actual emotional connection with the audience. So yeah, he was definitely somebody um, that made that connection with the audience. And when he left, and like you mentioned with the with the MMA fighting, yes, he was not successful with that, but fans of his still credit him for taking that chance and then coming to AEW, and and once again, at a time where WWE was really struggling, now we have somebody that we can connect with once again, and a new promotion that we can make emotional connections with. So yeah, he's done a lot for fans to bring them back in different ways that they weren't fans necessarily like back in the 80s and 90s.
absolutely, man. Some great points, and I appreciate you. Everybody, fans, this guy's points here. Grateful to have you as a guest here today. Ted of
Absolutely.
ACW Wisconsin Faithful runs a fan page site out there. Any info you want to drop real quick on that?
Absolutely. So if you are in Wisconsin, in particular in the Fox Cities area, make sure to be checking out ACW Wisconsin. They are a promotion based out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Former WWE superstar Dylan Postle, aka Hornswoggle, is co-owner of the promotion. This Friday, December 4th, at the Oshkosh Masonic Center, will be their 10th anniversary show. They have guests like Teddy Long, Brian Myers, Tommy Dreamer will all be making appearances. It's also the day in which fans can sign up for season passes or season tickets. And they are also doing a toy drive that night as well, in which if you give a minimum of 2 wrestling figures, you can qualify for 2024 season tickets. And they're aiming for at least 1,000 toys this year. It's going to be a fun event. Yeah, I have no problem shilling products at any time. You want to give me an opportunity to make a plug, I will certainly make those plugs.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, lots of love for ACW and everything I've seen them do. We make our yearly trip out there for Water City Wrestling Con. Another great promotion, man. I wish we had like just limitless funds so we could go out there a lot more frequently. Yeah, I seen that show coming up here. Is that right? It's going to be Adam Grace against Tommy Dreamer.
Adam Grace versus Tommy Dreamer, Big Cat, Chris Bogger versus Brian Myers. The tag team championships are going to be on the line. Baker Boys versus the Curse. The Curse consists of Tyler Sullivan and Sean Priest. You have a 6-way match for the All-Star Scramble Trophy, which is AECW Wisconsin's version of Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Brian Myers, Brock Hall, Jimmy Ocean, Preston Palmer, and there's 2 others. They're escaping me at the moment, but that are going to be part of that event. If you're a casual fan, this is a wonderful event to check out for the first time because you'll see some amazing guests. If you're a diehard ACW Wisconsin fan, by the way, make sure to follow the ACW Wisconsin Faithful on Facebook. That's where we do the majority of our of of our conversation is there on the Facebook page, but we do have a YouTube page. We have a thread and an Instagram as well. Make sure to follow us. But anyway, if you're a fan, whether you're casual or a diehard, it's a wonderful evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a packed, loud house.
Very cool. Very cool. Looks exciting. Well, let's get back to the main subject of the night: CM Punk returning to WWE. We kind of gave a little bit of backstory, the why fans should care, and what was going on. His return to AEW and everything that's gone on. Everybody kind of knows the drama and everything that's happened there. More importantly, let's kick off the 5 points I wanted to get here to tonight. Uh, what does this signing mean? Out of it, from the perspective of this being the third AEW superstar to sign with WWE, what do you think of that?
I so the optimist in me says that we now live in a landscape where wrestlers can go to either promotion and be put in a place for success. Jade Cargill kind of hit her ceiling in AEW. Now she's going to start a new adventure in WWE. Rhodes kind of the same situation. You could say that was self-made, where he took himself off the world championship race, and so he could only do so much. He was able to reinvent himself by returning. CM Punk is a different circumstance in which you have someone who fans have always been hoping he would return to the promotion that made him the biggest star, but at the same time, he's kind of on his. This is his last chance, really, because um, fans before were very supportive of this cause, especially when you had a WWE that was ran by Vince McMahon. Now it's a new era. It's you have Nick Khan and you have Triple H running the majority of WWE. You have Endeavor that's running WWE as well. It's a different beast, and so WWE really holds the cards when it comes to CM Punk and his future in wrestling, really, because if he flames out, and we'll talk more about this later on as well, but if he flames out, now it's on him. It's not so much the big bad corporation. It's now Punk's burned a lot of bridges. Is he reliable at this point? So I think it's great that talent can go back and forth. We just saw Adam Copeland leave WWE after he pretty much did all he could do in WWE. Now he's in AEW. Mixed emotions on how that's going so far, but we see the talent going back and forth. Bryan Danielson moving from WWE to AEW, having a phenomenal run. Jon Moxley, the former Dean Ambrose, has been the poster child for the promotion forever. So the optimist in me says we're going to see wrestlers go back and forth. MJF, hopefully at some point, he hits the ceiling in AEW. He goes to WWE for 5 to 7 years. He goes back to AEW, the company that started him. Stuff like that. Hopefully that happens. That's the optimist. The pessimist in me is we're living in the year 2000 again. And if you remember 2000, we saw the mass exodus of WCW talent to WWE, and we saw WCW crumble. That would be a huge disappointment because professional wrestling is much better when you have two very large promotions as opposed to what we lived through for about 15 to 18 years where you had WWE and then kind of TNA and NWA's down here, and you had and New Japan is cool but it's way over in the distance. Professional wrestling for us all are better when we have two big guys where the talents can go back and forth. I'm very worried that we're starting to see 2000 happen again. Hopefully AEW can get their stuff together and move the ship in the right direction.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to them coming into a town here in Minneapolis this Wednesday. They announced that Top Flight is coming back for that show and a couple other huge matches. So looking into just excited. Hopefully I can get my hand in there and get to do part of the build and the teardown kind of behind the scenes. Get to look at it from that stagehand perspective as well. It'll be interesting. And we did apply for press passes. Hopefully we'll hear back from them here in the next 48 hours. But
and you're going to be posting things here on State of Pro Wrestling, right? If that does happen. And you're going to be posting things here on State of Pro Wrestling if that does occur, right?
Absolutely. If we can get a
Uh,
press pass, and everything,
yeah,
stagehand stuff, you got to be way more secretive. I don't
right.
want to, get fired from all that and everything, ruin it because it's a good thing. But yeah, it'll be good to see kind of how AEW is running it, and it has been kind of an issue since the CM Punk issue last summer kind of popped up. We were kind of like, man, is Tony Khan? Does this guy really know what he's doing? Is he a super mark with a bunch of money, or what's going on here? But there is that worry, man, and it has been a great place to work. You talk about Top Flight coming back, and you look at guys like that who have been paid throughout their injuries and everything. That's unheard of, like a new thing in wrestling, and that's something wrestlers have pushed for forever since Jesse started trying to start the union and everything there. And yeah, I kind of look at CM Punk at this point in his career, kind of like that James Harden sort of. He really has backed himself into a corner, and like if he screws this up, I can see WWE, not even lasting till Mania. Perhaps if he screws this up, they really don't need him. They've really built a great lineup of superstars. Multiple top people.
That was the number one thing that we saw online last night after he was signed. A lot of the people that weren't fans of, or that aren't fans of CM Punk were like, why do we even need him right now? You've got the Judgment Day storyline. You've got the Bloodline, which is arguably the best professional wrestling story ever currently taking place. Cody Rhodes finishing the story. You've got an amazing women's division going on. Even things like the LWO falling apart. Even your smaller B and C stories have such great substance to them. This is storytelling we haven't seen since the Attitude Era, where you have your A story, but the rest of the show is interesting as well. We don't really need Punk at this point, so why bring him in? The big thing is if you have this great toy that you can throw into the mix as well, and all the different stories that go into why is he back in the WWE? That there's 5 different stories you can go from there. What type of matchups and the relationships that they have with the wrestlers that are currently on the roster. There's a lot of opportunity there as well. The newcomers versus him. How does that work? There's so many things that you can do, but like you said, the second he gets out of line, you pull him out, you throw him away. You don't need it. And like you also mentioned with Tony Khan, did he give him too much power in AEW? I think WWE is really the only place that CM Punk can really be successful right now, because you have a corporate structure with a lot of older talent that won't need to buy into sometimes, like some people call the BS that in like the politics that he does. He's not the big fish in the pond anymore. He's now you have guys like Cody. You've got, your John Cena's and Rocks can come back and kind of like, no, this is the way things go. Even a guy like Triple H, which is currently beloved in the wrestling world, if he says, nope, you're not the guy, you're gone, he's not going to have, I don't believe he's going to be as toxic in this locker room as if he were to go, let's say, to Impact, where yes, you've got some veterans, but you've got a lot of young talent that could easily buy into some of the malarkey that we saw happen in AEW. New Japan might be the same situation. A smaller promotion might also suffer under, like, if he ends up being toxic like he has been in the past. He's not going to have that same he won't have free reign like he did in AEW.
Absolutely, man. Some great points. Great points there. Another aspect I was thinking of was how they pulled it off, the return, how they without didn't take away any focus from Randy Orton, and the point that they kept it a secret that well as well. There's always wrestling speculation and everybody, oh, I knew.
Yeah.
And
I
hunches and clues. It's kind of fun, playing wrestling fans' version of Clue.
They did a great job nipping in the bud, right? With teasing Randy Orton at the Raw before, or at the Go Home show. The way that they brought that, build that excitement and say, nope, it's Randy Orton. You all love Randy Orton. We want to see Randy Orton back. So don't start with the CM Punk chance. We've got Randy Orton coming back. And then also, even within the show, I thought it was kind of hokey. Kind of felt like what was going on Full Gear of, like the injury angle. It felt a little hokey of like, oh, is Randy Orton going to be here? Oh, like, well, of course he's going to be there. But the
Yeah.
fact that, they had Rhea Ripley try to cash in. So there was that suspense of, oh, maybe he's not. And maybe we're seeing a title change only for Randy to return and for him to get a very hot Chicago crowd behind him. And not, again, no CM. There was when the final entrant for Judgment Day came in, you did hear some CM Punk chants, but that quickly got squashed to Randy chants. Now that could be sound engineering with the network, but it sounds like it was primarily the crowd saying, "No, we'll get back on track and we'll root for Randy." So that, and then you had such a great ending with that really fun RKO from the top with JD McDonough and all the different spots. You could have, and the show still would have been great without the CM Punk reveal. The fact that they added it there, as opposed to it being like what was it, Royal Rumble 14, where Rey Mysterio comes out at 30 when everybody wanted Daniel Bryan, because you kind of left that possibility, that kernel. They didn't give that leeway for the fans to hijack. And especially when you're in Chicago, where that crowd can really take over a show, they didn't allow it. They've structured it perfectly to make that reveal feel genuine and welcomed.
Man, you are killing it. You're great at this, man.
I
You
love
should
talking. These are conversations we've been talking about having for the longest time. Look behind the curtain. We were supposed to do this during Wrestling Con this past year, and technology got in the way of it. So I'm glad that we've been able to chat about what we love, professional wrestling. So this is fun for me. I'm glad we're able to do this.
Awesome. Very cool. Me too, man. I appreciate this. Hopefully, the idea is that we get this thing really rolling. And then it's 2024. The goal has been to really reach out to everybody and uplift each other. And yeah, it's been a great experience seeing our homie friend Tony Miller do interviews and stuff. Him getting a table and getting to do interviews down there at WrestleCade this weekend. And then our other friend Kyle from Detroit, 3 counts and knockouts, getting a press pass for Survivor Series and getting to be there last night, seeing him in the background of the presser. It was like, it's so great to see all of us like DIY sort of creators out there and the fellow creators break through like that. It's really inspiring.
And it's great to see that the promotions realize the value of creators like you and the rest of the community, that we can be their best advocates for their product. And so they should bring us on, as opposed to, oh, they're just goofballs on the internet, let's just keep them to the side. Yes, there are some toxic fans and some toxic websites, but the groups that really try to bring positivity to this art form that we all love is something that can be used for their benefit. I mean, there's benefits both ways in that, and it's great to see in this day and age that the major promotions are seeing what the independents have seen for so long.
Absolutely, and great points. Look into this CM Punk WWE return. With they reports today that nobody had a clue. We kind of seen these videos of Seth Rollins throwing a big fit and kind of angry. What do you see in this? They said Ripley also getting kind of upset. Do you think this is storylines or some genuine or a little bit of both being played into it?
I'm very curious on how WWE is engineering this. It seems like, especially when you have Paul Levesque running the ship and the relationship he had with CM Punk the last time around, and him knowing firsthand on what a terrible situation can occur if you let CM Punk just do his own thing. There, I have not. This is all speculation, but I highly doubt that Nick Khan and Triple H signed CM Punk without really thinking through what's going to happen. Especially when you have someone like Seth Rollins, who has made those public statements in the past about CM Punk. me as a fan, and maybe I'm trying to be optimistic. I think everything that occurred with Rhea and Seth and Drew, I think Drew McIntyre's is a different situation because I think that's a contract situation that needs to be resolved before April of 2024. He's still going. There's still no new contract with him. I think that's a different situation than with Punk. There might be some frustrations in why is Punk getting big money and I've been such a company guy, and there's, again, this is all speculation. As a fan, when I saw the double birds when the cameras went off, it just seemed like that had to be either engineered by WWE or by Seth Rollins to build up the hype. Much like how Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle had, real life beef, but all of a sudden became a really great storyline. And they kind of brought reality into the fictitious world in a controlled environment, unlike what you saw in AEW, where you had the Adam Page promo go off the rails and then CM Punk calls him out, and that kind of felt the reality and storylines not gelling the way that they should. It seems WWE knows what they need to do to make sure that they still have control of the situation and not let fans, or excuse me, not fans, let wrestlers go too rogue and sabotage what's making them millions and millions of dollars right now. So I think, again, this is the optimistic fan in me. 1 billion% of work. I think Seth Rollins is smart enough to not do double birds in front of 18,000 ecstatic fans, that are all, in Chicago of all places. Yes, Seth Rollins is from Chicago as well, but you still don't do that, and not realize what the long-term effects would be. I think this is all storyline.
Absolutely, and I hope so. With the already built-in kind of storyline that they have, there's not really much work. You can just kind of let the pieces be and continue. And fans, fantasy booking that. You don't have to really try too hard on that one to knock that out the park. Absolutely, and already start those holy face and the excitement and the buzz going. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to imagine this like a week ago being like, nah,
yeah.
it's just been too much drama. But like you said, they had to have shot like worst case scenario. How toxic could Punk become, or how toxic could we let him become? I think it really did show a weakness in AEW that they let this thing kind of get that far out of hand, a situation like that, or even backstage fights. I mean, this is pro wrestling. Like, there had to have been issues in the backstage like that before that have breaking out into
Yeah.
fights have been handled. Uh,
Yeah, the fact that in 2022, Tony Khan didn't turn off his microphone as he was eating that dry muffin should have been that's where it should have stopped. Be like, no, I'm the multi-billionaire that's running this company. You can be quiet right now. If you got beef, let's talk about it off camera. We're ending this. He should have put his foot down as opposed to just standing there watching his empire crumble while CM Punk is talking trash about all of the talent that Khan has invested in. That should have been where that was where you saw the biggest, the first signs that there were cracks in the walls at AEW. And I hope for wrestling's sake, those are patched up much sooner than later.
Absolutely. Real quick before we go, got a couple minutes left. Let's run over real quick, just 3 pros and 3 cons of WWE signing CM Punk at this point. The 3 pros.
Pros, money. They're going to be making so much money off of merchandise. Download, it's just all dollar signs, and I think you get the ticket sales from the fans that he love him or hate him, he's got a fan base and they spend money. So I think the amount of money that they can make, I think the storyline opportunities that they have there are quite evident, and I think you can have a lot of fun. And again, WWE holds the power in this situation. If he goes rogue, if he calls a podcast, if he puts up a stupid Instagram story, future endeavor. and it's done. And WWE will look like the good guys and the smart guys in this situation. The cons would be, does the toxicity roll over into, again, younger talent or talent that feels like they're not being used properly? If these beefs that he has with top stars is legitimate, does Paul Levesque lose credibility with the locker room that he's been able to get on his side? And I think it's just I think the biggest issue, I can't give you three. I think the biggest thing is, does he become toxic? Do we see the same thing? Because I think, again, it's a gamble that I think is only going to pay off if he's on a limited schedule. You just plop him in certain storylines. I think the possibilities. Again, this is just a WWE thing. I don't think, as of right now, Impact, this would have been terrible. New Japan would have been terrible. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s promotion would have been terrible. Whatever you want to go with. I think this is the
Our new
place.
startup here in Minnesota would have been terrible.
Yeah, see, there you go. So yeah, especially with a young locker room, that's what you hear from a lot of talent that know him from his ROH or ACW NWA days, that he wasn't good in the locker room. There's a lot of guys I know say, I know Punk. Punk's not a good guy. So so I think in those kind of locker rooms, you can't have them. In a corporate structure, which seems ironic now, with the guy that was Mr. Anti-Establishment, the best place for him to be is in a corporate structure.
I think we got to end it at that. I think that's the best. We've made some great points already tonight. I think it's not going to get any better than that. You want to do one last drop, plug everything that you do?
Sure thing. So I'm Ted with the ACW Wisconsin Faithful, which is the unofficial fan site of ACW Wisconsin, a independent professional wrestling promotion based out of the Fox Cities, in particular Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Their next event is on Friday, December 1st, the 10th anniversary edition. Tommy Dreamer, Teddy Long, Brian Myers, Hornswoggle will all be in action that night. It's going to be a great event. Reserve seats are sold out. General admission is still available, but tickets are going fast. Check out the ACW Wisconsin main page and also the ACW Wisconsin Faithful on Facebook, on Threads, on Instagram, here on YouTube as well. I'll be honest, Facebook is where we do what we really the meat and potatoes of what we do for the ACW Wisconsin Faithful is on Facebook. We're marching towards 1,000 followers there. Please come in and follow us.
Awesome. Ted, well, I want to thank you for joining us here tonight, talking a little CM Punk return to WWE. Let's do this more often. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's do this again.
That was awesome, man. I appreciate your wisdom, your knowledge, and getting the team up here. We're a great yin and yang or oddball tag team, maybe. I don't know yet.
and let's hope that we get WrestleMania in Minneapolis. That's something I want more than anything, is WrestleMania at US Bank Stadium. We need that to happen.
Yeah, getting this set up there for this last concert. I was just looking around. I was like, it's like there's enough room and the history and everything. I know it's not like touristy or maybe as flashy as Miami or something like that, but with those AWA roots and yeah, the history around here, and just having one in the Midwest, I don't know, and being a supermarket, being from Minnesota, I guess.
Yep.
I can call out Brock Lesnar one-on-one, US Bank Stadium. Better start eating a little bit better. No.
There you go.
All right, Ted. Well, thanks for joining us. Thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll be right back here at 5 p.m. once again to talk more CM Punk return with fellow guest Lucas Starr will join us. We'll deep dive into that and him as well. Thank you, Ted, for joining us. Everybody check out ACW Wisconsin Faithful. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, yeah. Have a good night.
Take care.
Wrestling. Wrestle. CM Punk. CM